Hi, in today's lesson I'm going to show you how to practice two-step sparring. In lesson 27 I showed you how to practice three-step sparring, and two-step sparring is another form of prearranged sparring. And as the name suggests, there are two attacks, two steps forward. But unlike three-step sparring, the attacks are not of the same kind. One has to be a hand attack and another a foot attack. Now it doesn't matter which way you start. It could be a hand attack followed by a foot attack, or vice versa, foot attack followed by a hand attack. But you can't do two hand attacks or two foot attacks. It has to be alternate. So here's the procedure for two-step sparring. Both players go to attention stance and bow to each other. The defender moves the right leg back into L stance, forearm guarding block, and the defender moves the left leg into parallel ready stance. The attacker shouts "yup" as a ready signal, and then the defender does the same. And then they commence. The attacker moves forward 2 times, performing an attack while the defender defends those attacks, and then follows that up by a counter attack. And when the sequence is completed, the attacker steps forward with the right foot to parallel ready stance, and the defender steps with the right leg back to parallel ready stance. They then switch roles and perform the same sequence the other way round. Once all the sequences have been completed, they return to attention stance and bow. The distance between the players has to be appropriate for the techniques being performed, so it's like three-step sparring. But with three-step sparring, the distance remains constant throughout because the techniques are repeated. But in two-step, the techniques are changing, so the distance can change. So it's a lot more flexible with the distance. So I always recommend students to judge the distance by eye rather than doing a formal measuring system as we did in lesson 27 for three-step sparring. So here are some examples of two-step sparring. With three-step sparring, there was also a two-way system that can be practiced, and two-step sparring has the same system. Here's how you do a two-way system with two-step sparring. The sequence is performed just like before, but it doesn't end when they return to parallel ready stance. Instead, it will continue with the attacker going backwards, performing the same attacks as before, and the defender going forwards, performing the same blocks as before, and then follow up with a counterattack. And the sequence ends when they go back to parallel ready stance again. If you haven't got anyone to practice two-step sparring with, you can always practice on your own against an imaginary opponent, like I suggested you do with three-step sparring. Now, it's possible that your instructor has taught you some two-step sparring sequences that you need to learn for your grading syllabus, so practice them regularly. Or you can make up your own two-step sparring sequences. But when you do that, make sure that the blocking techniques are appropriate for the attacks. And then when you do your counterattacks, they need to be appropriate for the distance that you're at. There are ways you can close in or move out to do your counterattacks, but I'll show you how to do that when we cover one-step sparring, which I'll do very soon. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Goodbye.